Welcome to Daily Armor. Today we're going to be in the book of Leviticus, chapter 11, looking at verses 44 and 45. You really, you could read the whole chapter. I did. I studied the whole chapter this morning and was actually, was actually very surprised of how much I got out of it. There was some things that I've been praying about and asking the Lord about, and He did show me some answers here in verse number 44. Or maybe I wouldn't even say like the whole answer, but another piece to the puzzle, another piece, another step. So, and I'm excited about that, but at the same time, we know when God makes the decision for us, and we want Him to, and then when He does, we're like, wow, okay. And we know that whatever He chooses is best. It may be something we hadn't thought of. It may be something that we hadn't considered, or maybe it's something that we have considered, but we just have been putting it off. We've just not wanted to do it. But when He shows you, like He has shown me in the light of really this scripture, and it's that from that phrase that I've kind of got hung up on. It says, I am the Lord. I am the Lord. I'm like, He's the Lord. He's real. He'll show you some things. He's going to show others some things, even if they don't worship Him, even if they don't follow Him. It's going to be obvious. It's going to be He's going to make sure it's obvious that He is real, and that, that they know that. Whether they ever admit it or not, they're going to know it. And so this for me, I'm looking at different passages, and I just kind of got stuck on Leviticus, and it really shows up in Leviticus a lot. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna study out through Leviticus, because it was just something that was intriguing to me. It was something that really caught my attention. And then I feel like that the Lord has led me to that phrase to lead me to Leviticus. And if you know anything about Leviticus, it's not something that maybe you enjoy studying and learning about, because there's a lot of stuff going on. A lot of things the Lord has for His people to do and to not do, and setting aside some things, and just a lot going on in the book of Leviticus. So it's not probably one of the more popular books that you read. But this is where we are for today. I don't know how many lessons that I'll look at, but at verse number 44 and verse number 45. And like I said, if you want to read the whole chapter, but I really, just for the sake of a devotion, I'm just going to focus on 44 and 45. And it says, for I am the Lord your God. There's so much that's just right there. I am the Lord your God, my God, personal God. Oh, I just love that. For I am the Lord your God. Ye shall therefore. So He's saying, because I'm Lord, which means I'm a self-existent one. I am Jehovah. I am the Lord, your God. God meaning magistrate, judge, ruler, the one in charge, like Lord, creator Lord, and then God, the boss. He's the judge, He's the ruler, He's the magistrate, He's Elohim. And because, therefore sanctify yourselves. And then we hear that word sanctify, and we all go, oh, it's, because if you're like me, I know of all the things I mess up in. I know of all the things that I have trouble with. And to sanctify yourself, we have to look at things, and I have to ask the Lord, okay, Lord, where am I having all these issues at? Like, I mean, for me, it's not going to be, I'm not looking for one thing. I'm probably looking for like 10. I could have a bad attitude in a certain situation. I could be harboring some harsh feelings toward somebody that I need to let it go and forgive, and so I can be forgiven. And I may have a decision that, kind of needs to be made, but I don't really know, exactly what to do, but I have a feeling I know what to do, and I'm not really sure, but I'm waiting on him. And I think we all have those things, and or even made decisions that we made them in haste. And I need to ask for forgiveness about those things. I've had to ask for forgiveness quite a bit this week, more so than others, it seems like. Just easily sidetracked this week, and I don't know if it's because Todd's out of town. He won't be back until tomorrow, and not that I'm going crazy or anything, but it is distracting being when you just kind of get out of your routine. It's distracting. It's actually been very productive as well, as far as having some more time with the Lord, because I'm not having to be a wife as much. But definitely some other things that have come up along the way, as everybody's schedules do. When you plan to do this and this and this, and then still things happen and don't quite go that way. But anyway, when we're talking about ye shall therefore sanctify yourselves, and that word sanctify, I looked it up, and it says to consecrate, prepare, dedicate, be hallowed, be holy, be separate, set apart, ceremonially or morally. So this could be in preparation for a ceremony. This would be like where you are the bride, and you are, you're getting yourself, you're shaving your legs, you're shaving your armpits, you're plucking, all the things that us women need to pluck. You're plucking all of that. You're preparing yourself for this day. You are, getting, everything, the hair's getting done, the makeup has to be perfect. I'm not even wearing makeup today, but for a wedding, for a ceremony, for preparing for something, if you were going to some kind of like an award ceremony, or, whatever the case may be, you're going to prepare for that. That's dedicating, you're going to have a special outfit. You're going to have, special things that you are doing or get done. Maybe you go get your nails done. You go get, everything. You want everything to be right. And that, in a spiritual sense, is what the Lord's talking about, is getting things right. If there's stuff that needs to be, that he needs to forgive, we need to just admit it. We need to just submit and go to him and say, Lord, you know what? It was even just for a moment, but I had a bad attitude about this over here, and I don't want to have a bad attitude. I want to get something from every situation. I want to learn from every situation. I don't want to be defensive. I don't want to be closed-minded. I don't want to be closed off, but I want to, say that I didn't do that correctly over here or over there, or whatever the case may be. There's so many different scenarios. I can't even think of a good example, because there's so many scenarios in my life and in your life that we just kind of leave it at that. And what I'm talking about, that we all have issues. We need to set ourselves apart, which I feel like the Lord has allowed me to do this week. Is I've been set apart some. I've been I've had to come and be separate from my spouse, from kind of my normal routine, and it's gave me more time. Not that I've always been, completely efficient with my time, but I feel like the Lord he stopped me from the normal stuff. So he wanted to show me some things. But what he showed me in the book of Leviticus, and this is late in the evening, it's 8:30 my time, by this time I was looking at this stuff for a couple of days, looking at Leviticus, but when I really, really looked at this whole chapter was this morning, and I was just amazed. The little nuggets that the Lord is letting me pull out, the little nuggets that He is showing me, not even that I'm pulling them out, but that He is showing them to me. And I know I had, one of the times when I had prayed, I actually had prayed for Todd about some situations. I'm like, Lord, give it to him in, like the writing on the wall, like plain. And then when I myself was looking at some scripture today, and and as you've probably experienced this, is that He wrote it down, and you're like, oh wow, there, like you have to do, that was for you. Like I read something today, and I knew that was for me. It wasn't what I was expecting for me, but I knew that was for me, and He showed me that. And the first thing I thought of, I'm like, oh Lord, this is like the writing on the wall, that this is what I have to do. And I don't know about your Christian walk, whether you've been a Christian for, maybe a year, 5 years, 10 years, 40 years. I don't know how long you've been a Christian. I don't know who all's listening, or who all will hear this. I've been a Christian now. I got saved in the year 2000, so this is 23. So I've been saved for 23 years. And from the beginning of my walk, within the first year, He was showing me things that He wanted me to do, and He was showing me some things that He wanted me to not do. And it was small things. It was little issues. One that stands out in my mind was probably within the first year of being saved. Something that I did, as a lot of women do, or did back in the day. The TV's on, I'm doing laundry, I'm running kids, dishes and dirty clothes, is everywhere, and you're getting all that stuff gathered up and getting it done. And something that I did back in the day was soap operas would be on the TV, because I would always have some noise on. Like if the kids were at school or something, I had to have some noise. It was too quiet. It would drive me insane. I had 4 children back to back, and I was used to it being loud, and I liked it that way. And so when the kids were gone to school or whatever, I have to have some noise. And so I would either have the TV going or I'd have the radio going. And I got to where I was really going toward that television, and I would put it on, daytime TV, which, then the soap operas would come on. Well, I got to be getting aggravated because I felt like I was behind all the time. Like I couldn't get everything done, and, it was going to be time to pick up the kids, and I'm still not done. And the Lord showed me the simplest thing, but it was as if it was the writing was right on the wall, and it was like, don't watch the soap operas anymore. And I'm like, really? He showed it. He let me know without a shadow of a doubt that I didn't need to watch those soap operas. And it wasn't just for me to do my, get more done, but it was also that, I needed to not compare my husband to something on television or marriage, which, most of those marriages were horrible. But that was just he just didn't want that for me. He was choosing for me not to do that. And because He's my Lord, because He's my God, then I needed to submit to that. And I did. And to the point where when it talks about and ye shall therefore sanctify yourselves, and ye shall be holy, for I am holy, neither shall ye defile yourselves with any manner of creeping thing that creepeth on the earth. Now this is talking about here in Leviticus chapter 11 about the things that they could eat and the things that they shouldn't eat. And so that's what those creeping things, it's like, don't go around eating these, these little things, these little creepy things. Don't go eating those things. But for the sake of what we're talking about, I'm just focusing in on sanctifying ourselves and being holy, to the point where when God tells you to do something or not to do something, when He says, don't eat this, don't watch that, don't smoke that, don't drink that, don't say that, don't think that, don't, golly, the list, don't ponder on that. It's so many things. when he says to not to, he means to not to the point where if, let me tell you, for instance, if I was channel surfing, or if somebody was at my house and they were channel surfing, and and sometimes your remote, you're hitting the button and it's just, it's being slow. If it would stop for even a split second and it would fall on a soap opera, I would be like, I would like close my eyes because I feel like I'd done something wrong, because God told me to not to. And I wasn't watching it, but it would be something that, that you saw, that you wished you didn't see, that you don't want to see, that that, well, God says that's not good for me. And so I don't want to be around it. That it's not healthy for me. And so I don't want to be around it. And as I have grown in the Lord, as I'm aging in the Lord, and I've not arrived, don't get me wrong, I don't mean that anything by that, but this through the course of time, then he's had more things that he's wanted me to add, and more things he's wanted me to remove, and more things that he's wanted me to work on, and I have to do my part. When you're sanctifying yourself, you have to do your part. And it says, and ye shall be holy. So when we submit to whatever it is that he said for us to do or not to do, whatever the case may be, every time we submit, we are sanctifying ourselves. And then when we are living out, we are continuing, in that he's told us to do or not to do, even if things get hard or bad or the struggle is real. And then we're going to find ourselves that we have become holier. Not that we are going to be God, not that we are going to be like God in that way, but we are striving for that. And that Christ has, his blood has been applied to my life. My sins have been forgiven in the past. My present sins, he just forgiven me. I had to ask for forgiveness for some stuff this morning, and he's forgave me. And I know I'm going to mess up in my days to come. I'm going to try, and I'm trying to do what he wants me to do. I'm trying to submit. I'm trying to not, like, sometimes if you're like me, the first time he tells you to do something or to not to, and in the case this morning, it was something that I need to stop. There's nothing wrong. It's not like it's something that's sinful. But for me, I was asking Lord about some specific things, and he actually showed me something so specific, and I was like, I cannot believe this is in the scripture. I cannot believe that this is where he took me, because this answered my question, and it was right here, and I never noticed it before. It was right here. But when he first shows you something, and it was something you really did not want to do. Have you ever had that? Have you ever experienced that? If it was, you're asking God, but there is something you don't want to do. And sometimes you won't even talk to him about it because you're afraid he's going to make you do that thing that you don't want to do. Sometimes you don't want to ask him because you're afraid he's going to tell you to do that thing that you don't want to do. But when he really does show you that's something that you don't want to do, and he shows you that yes, I am the Lord, means I'm the boss, I'm the creator, I am your God, I am your judge, I am your magistrate, I am your ruler, I am in charge of your steps, I have ordered your steps. That's what he was telling me this morning. I have ordered your steps. You asked me a question, I'm showing you the answer, and I have ordered your steps because I know what's best for you. You don't. I know what's best for you. And when he first showed me that this morning, I was really disappointed. Even if it was just for a few minutes. It's not something horrible. It was not something like the day he told me I had to give up sugar. And I'm like, I was like, I want to cry. Lord, I love sugar. I just love it. I just love sugar. And I ate a little something today that I normally put one of my little monk fruit sweeteners in. And I've been doing no sugar, which, I've had a few little mishaps along the way. And even some things just accidental, and I'm like, oh, I don't feel so well. There must have been sugar in that. But for the most part, I've been no sugar since March, to the point where my body is changing so much that the thing that I ate today tasted so good that I didn't even need a sweetener in it. It didn't need any. It was really, really good, and I needed it for my digestive system, and it's unsweetened, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can handle this without a sweetener, but I'm just going to try. I'm just going to see, because even the natural sweeteners, sometimes they're just too sweet for me, and I'm having to lower my dosages all the time. I'm like, oh, just a little pinch of something, because if it just gets too sweet for me, to the point where, because I have submitted to what God told me to do, then I am becoming to where I don't even need the sugar. I don't even like the sugar. I don't even want the sugar, which is just shocking. And if you, any of you know me like personally really, really well, another thing that you'll know about me is that I don't like salty things. I'm not a salt person, but you would not believe how much I love salt now. Like real salt, like Celtic salt. And I ordered some Redmond salt and got it in yesterday, and it is so good. And pink Himalayan salt, like real grinded up real salt. And I still don't need much of it, just a little pebble on my finger, and I'm like, oh, my body is needing that. And it's so crazy how the Lord can change your taste buds. And that's good. He can change your thought pattern. He can change what comes out of your mouth. He can change what you're looking at, what you're watching, what you're listening to. He can change all of that, but we have to submit. We have to sanctify ourselves by submitting to what he wants, to what he said. And then ye shall be holy. And I like that word be, because it says to become. We're going to become what we can't do, because he's making those changes. Because he says, for I am holy. For I am holy. And he says, you keep submitting, and then by that submission, you are being sanctified, and you are going to be holy, set apart with a purpose. He's got the plan, not me. He's got the plan. And I don't know if you're like me, but sometimes, like Todd and I, we talk about a lot of things, and my immediate reaction when he wants to do something is I'm a little defensive. And I want to question, I want to question his motives. I want to question, okay, have you thought this through? A lot of different scenarios go on when he's making a decision for us, or he wants to, run something by me to see what I feel about it. And I'm like, okay, let me counteract that. But now I can't do that with God. I'm not supposed to do that with God. We're not supposed to do that with the Lord, because he's got the perfect plan. And I find that even as I submit to the Lord more, that it makes me not get defensive and automatically shoot down anything that Todd says. Automatically think he's got bad motives, he's not thought this through, all this, that I'm like, I've had so many moments in the past probably 2 months of, Todd, that was a really good idea. I hadn't thought about it that way, and that was a really good idea. And God is helping me and my husband, because we're getting closer to the Lord, and as we get closer to the Lord, we get closer to one another. And even when we have like an idea, like I've got some ideas, I haven't even run by him yet, because I'm like, I know he's going to shoot me down. But you know what? Maybe not. Maybe he's going to be like, well, because he's been shocking me as well. I know I've been shocking him, because he's been like, really? You're not going to fuss? And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not going to fuss. I don't have a rebuttal for that one, because I'm stopping and I'm going to consider that. But when it comes to something that the Lord has for me and what the Lord has for you, he says, ye shall therefore sanctify yourselves. In other words, submit to what he says. Here in the book of Leviticus in chapter number 11, maybe this was some things that they liked. And God's saying, you know what? I know this is something you've normally been eating. I know you learned to do this in Egypt, or whatever the case may be. But I'm telling you that I know what's best. and this animal is not for you to eat. These are what you can do, and these are what you can't do. And that's not just talking about food. That's talking about every part of our life. Having those boundaries is good. We can get into something that we don't need to. If any of you have been around children very long, you know that when you say don't touch that, it's hot, they're going to touch it. But we are adults, and we should have enough sense that if God says don't touch it, be an adult. Don't be a 2-year-old. I don't want to be a 2-year-old. I'm not in my 2nd year of walking with the Lord. I'm in my 23rd year of walking in with the Lord, which is still young. If I was 23, that's still pretty young. But I don't want to be a 2-year-old and I'm like, I got to do it anyway. No, I want to submit. I want to submit. I've already shown that this afternoon. Like there was something that, and I'm like, Lord, that first reaction, I'll admit, was, Lord, this is going to hurt a little bit. This is going to hurt. But, just a few minutes later, I'm like, but Lord, because he keeps showing me, I am the Lord. He's the Lord. He's God. Submit to him, and ye shall be holy. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to seeing you again soon.